You ever wondered what a set of $1,200 top hats looks like? Well, this is the bowl of split pea that I ate. Split pea and ham that my wife made. It's freaking amazing. But that's not it. Of course, you gotta have it with Ritz crackers too, right? All right, so this is what I have for you. Ooh, let me burp away. These are my prototypes. I just have them finished today. One of them has been tumbled. You see the finish. Versus this one is raw, fresh cut, machined. There you go. Now, why were these $1,200? Well, prototypes are freaking expensive. That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to things like this. When it comes to machining parts that you design in your CAD software, be it SolidWorks or Fusion or whatever it is that you use, Inventor or whatever, it isn't as simple as just making the drawing and then pumping that into a program and having it cut the parts. When I first started this whole thing, not these whole thing, but the machining and the SolidWorks lessons or classes I took and all that, certification, all that, I was ignorant to the levels that of work that go into it. So after you create your part in SolidWorks, you have to load that part into a CAM software, computer-aided machining software, and the CAM software writes the tool paths for the part, and typically it's G code, and so I got to learn G code so that I could write a toolpath myself without a program completely, and that was really cool and fun to do. But when you have a complex part, it's way easier to use the CAM software because it automatically does the G code. But what you do have to do is you still have to put the part in it, and then you got to tell it what tools you have in your machine, what kind of machine you have, what kind of tools are in it, what slot those tools are located in, and then you got to give it an order. Like, because it's going to start off with just a chunk of aluminum, a round aluminum in this case. And then you got to tell it to, rough out the outer shape. And so you'll use something larger like an inch or 3/4 inch end mill and rough out the shape of what you're going for. And you got to do both sides, right? So you got to do one side, cut into it. You pretty much get this whole side done in one operation. Oh no, I could do the holes too. And you got to do the holes. And then flip it over and then have a way of fixturing it. And then flip it over and then do more operation on this side, rough out this side, and then go down to the smaller ball mills or end mills as needed to finish the part, because you got to do all the small radiuses. You got to cut this whole path here. You got to have that little lip in here you got to cut out. So you got to tell it what tools are where and what order to do the cuts in. Now, these were $1,200. Because I had to pay for machine time and the CAM programming time. And it was about a day and a half, believe it or not, of work going into that. Now, that was to do the first one was about a day and a half, and then the second one was about 2 hours. So most of the money went into really this one, per se. But now that the pathing is done, if I make any changes, it'll just be small, quick changes in the CAM software. And then I actually am going to change the tools because they didn't have the tool needed to do all of these surfaces quickly. This is actually all done with a ball mill, and a 1/4 inch ball mill. So there's 60 freaking circles in here to get this smoothed out and done. And that's just way too long. And they know that, and we know that. So we'll get an end mill with a radius, and we can do this in 3 swipes, and that's it. So we'll cut machine time down in half. And so in the end, what will happen is I will have a top hat set that I can sell for around $300, which I don't think is a bad price for something that's billet and really heavy duty like this, and really flashy too. It's so pretty. I do want to anodize them. I do my gold preferably, but I know not everyone wants my gold in their engine bay, so I may have to come up with some other colors as well. But before I do any of that, I still have to test them and make sure that they do meet, the standards for strength, that they fall in line with what the simulations showed. So I'm going to put these on the Rallycross car and go jump it a few times, and do a few things and see how they fare. And then I have to. I'm going to have 2 models with them. Now this lip, see these lips, these raised areas? This is so I can put a rubber gasket in here. I have a rubber gasket worked out that fits right in here and to help alleviate some of the NVH that you would get by having these hard mounted to the car. And then I have another one without the lip, so it can be just hard mounted to the car. This one here is GD/GC size. And then I have to finish the programming for the GR and VA size because those are bigger around, which is really cool because that gives us more camber adjustment. This doesn't have a whole lot of camber adjustment with certain coilovers because some of the coilovers have big round top bearing plates that slide on a flat surface, whereas others have a narrower plate. Like I think it's BCs have a round one, and then some other brands like Fortune use a diamond shaped bearing, and that's what this is made for because then you'll have plenty of movement along this axis here. Whereas if it was a big round bearing plate, I would only get about half an inch of movement with like the BCs or whatever. This inner diameter is set up for both the BCs and I think Fortunes had the same diameter of the post for the bearing that goes up in here. So this will work for a few different brands, but based on the brand, you get more or less adjustment out of it. And so with the VAs and the GRs, they're bigger around, so I'll have more available movement. So I'm super excited about these. I was going to do these in like a casting, but they're just going to break. They're not going to be strong enough. So now I was thinking of doing a forging, but tooling is like 20 grand or more. And then I got to do like a run of like 600 of them to make it cost effective. So I may just end up doing these all billet, and if profit margin will be pretty low, but they're just so cool. And so I have this drop in here. You see the drop. That drop is there because a lot of guys run, lowering springs or coilovers, and they drop the spring really far on the body. And what they end up doing is getting rid of all of the bump travel in their strut. So like they bottom out with just a half inch or an inch or so of suspension travel in the bump direction. And they're not even hitting body yet or anything, just that because they've got it so low or whatever, they're bottoming out the strut and they're losing travel. And so I wanted to allow people to get that 3/4 inch more travel out of the suspension. And that's 3/4 inch is actually a lot. That goes a long way in comfort and handling. You turn in and your suspension bottoms out really aggressively, and you hit a bump in a turn, and it'll unsettle the chassis quite a bit, and you don't want to hop the car on a corner or spin out easily. So this was done to facilitate street cars and race cars, mostly street cars though. Anyways, the last thing is 7-seaters. That's the name of the machine shop that I go to. They do a lot of my machining. They don't do my fittings though. I have those done on the west side of the state. But he did my adapters for my rear struts on my RS. He's done a bunch of other things for me for personal stuff. He does the machining for my cams. So we set up the stuff together. Hi, Trude. We set up all the machines and processes and get all these cool things done together. Anyways, he hooked me up on these, believe it or not. And I recommend that you guys, if anyone, especially local here or even across the country, give him a shout if you want some cool stuff done. He's really, really smart and really good with doing high volume runs of things that may need complex machining using pallets, automated pallets, or special clamping fixtures and that kind of stuff. So this is a cat. Not that you needed to know that. Anyway, so 7-seaters. They're north of Hayden by Garwood here in Idaho. And Ryan and Scott are the two guys that work there. Ryan owns it. And Scott's a really talented machinist. And so is Ryan. And they're two cool dudes with a nice shop. And they're always willing to do custom shit. So if you need anything. They also do gun sights for AKs. And I'm going to be putting those on my website because I want to sell some for them. They did a really cool site for an AK. I was there today checking them out. They're really sweet. It's not an optic, it's a mechanical sight. So it's got 4 diopter sizes on the rear, and I don't know if that means anything to half of you guys. I don't know if you're gun nuts or not. I'm a gun guy, love guns. So, anyways, that's it right there. That's a prototype set of top hats. Beefy, man, these things are tanks. I'm gonna go run them hard and make sure they are tanks. Anyways, pretty cool, right? I dig them. Well, thanks for stopping by.